Hello, my crafty friends. It's Michelle, the Southern Shell, and this is the first of the month, and that can only mean one thing, the first of the month collaboration. Our host is Brenda with Rustic and Lace DIY, and her guest host is Lynn with Fidget DIYs. I can't wait to show you what I created, and I did one project, but I did put information at the end on how to do a print a size on your tablet or your phone. So let's get on into the project. So I have these adorable little prints that I had purchased off of Etsy. They were really small, so they were great for like embellishing in your journals and so forth. And I just went into print to size on my tablet and I brought them up and I made them big enough to create ornaments out of. Now I'm using these little 3-inch ornaments and the little 3-inch squares that I actually cut out when I was creating my s'mores. So the first thing I'm going to do is come in with Mod Podge on this and put a nice coat of Mod Podge all over one side of these ornaments. The square part is going to be our album cover and the bubble is going to be our album. So let's move on and see what's next. Once the Mod Podge has dried, I'm going to come in and I needed to fussy cut my albums out. The easiest way to fussy cut a circle is to hold your scissors pretty still and move your paper so that your paper moves right into your scissors as it cuts off. Once I got everything trimmed out, I'm going to fold down the lines around my little album cover here. Make sure your your album cover is, you're folding lines neatly and slide that right on in there. I'm going to just tuck my ends in, fold it in half, and then I'm going to go ahead, put my parchment on top and iron that down. Once I get that all ironed on there, it's nice and tight. Now I can go ahead and add my album. So I want to make sure that the album image is upright for me. And I'm going to iron that right on down to my bauble. Once that is done, I'm going to take some glue and I'm just going to run it along that edge, rub it down, and just make sure it's all folded onto the inside of my little wood piece and that album cover. Now I'm going to come back in and add Mod Podge to the back sides. Once I do that, it's going to dry and I can get the rest of that ironed into place. Once the Mod Podge is dry on the back, you're going to do the same thing by folding that down and over and then ironing that straight on down to your wood piece. Now I had some glue on that side and I just wanted to fold it over so that I could create a nice clean piece to do that. I want to make sure that the album is matching the album on the other side of my ornament as well as the album case. Now look, I had glue on my parchment paper and it tore that up, but I'm going to show you how I fixed it. I'm just going to use some of my art glitter glue. This dries so super fast and it is excellent for paper. I make sure you keep a pin in there because it will dry out very quick and you will have a clog and that tiny little fine tip. And I'm just going to lay this back down right where it was and tap it down into place and then leave it be. Once you have everything on there and nice and dry, I'm going to come in here with my black DIY little black dress paint, and I'm just going to go all around the outside edge of my wood ornament. Now I could have sized the albums to fit perfectly on there, but I thought this worked out just fine. And so what I'm doing now is once I have that paint set aside for that one side to dry, I'm going to come in with my distressed oxide ink, and this is in frayed burlap, and I am going to go ahead and just ink the edges all the way around all of my album covers here. I think this just gives it a little bit more of that rustic touch, which is, if you know the ornaments that I've been making this year, oh my goodness, I am definitely hanging more towards the rustic farmhouse. This is definitely vintage, and I think it turned out adorable. So once that was all done and set aside, I came in with my gold. No, I used silver rub and buff on here. And for some reason, my silver rub and buff is a lot thinner than my gold and my antique gold. And I'm just going to come in and just pop it right on top. And I'm going to cover my ornament hangers in this silver. I did bring in a paintbrush for a little bit just to kind of get right around the edge, right up there where I wouldn't go over it too much with my finger. And then I do come back in with my fingers because it's just easier for me to use my rub and buff using my fingers. Now we have everything dried. We have the front and the back of the album done. And now I'm going to line it up on top of my album here. I'm going to use some hot glue along with some of my Tight Bond Quick and Thick, no, my Tight Bond wood glue. Oh my goodness. I had a little bit of a clog at the top. I just peeled that right on off and laid that album cover on top of that album. So it looks like that album is coming right out of the center. Now we do have the print on the back has the songs that would be on the album, which is perfect. And so one side looks like it's peeking out of the album. The other side looks like it's laying on top of the album cover itself. So once again, wood glue, hot glue, and lay that on there. And this worked perfect for that little ornament that had a little tear. It just turned out great. So here I have it. And now I'm going to come in and Mod Podge over the top. I'm actually using the satin because I wanted some shimmer to this because all of our records actually shine, don't they? So this turned out great. I'm just using that satin Mod Podge. I'm coming in and I will go all the way over the top, all around the edges, and let that one side dry. The Mod Podge was dried front and back. I came in with some twine and I just cut this about 10 inches. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just tie a knot in one end. I'm going to pull that nice and tight, and then I'm going to stick that folded piece of twine in through the front of my album, and I'm going to open where the knot is, pull that through, and pull it tight. And I'm going to do this for each one of these ornaments. Guys, what do you think? What do you think about how these are turning out? If you want to know how I edit these images with my Print-A-Cut, that video will be added after this. All right, my friends, there you have it. What do you think about my Christmas album ornaments? I think they turned out so stinking cute. Joe, what do you think?
I think they're cute.
Are they a keeper?
I really like those.
Yeah, I like them. I do. All right, guys, if you've not subscribed to my channel, I do hope you will consider doing so now by hitting that subscribe button. If you want to know when my latest video has gone live, hit that bell notification and YouTube should notify you. As always, stay safe, God bless, and bye for now. Okay, so a quick little tutorial on the Print to Size app. I saved the images, the sheet that I had gotten as a photo to my photos, and then I went ahead and clicked that plus button at the bottom and added it. Once I had that added to my screen, I went ahead and used the crop buttons on the side here. I knew how big my square was, so I went ahead and took the square and added I just used those arrow buttons to size down to the size I needed for that particular item. So I Since the square was a 3 by 3, I went just under the 3-inch mark, and then I went ahead and continued to move those arrows up and down, cropping away anything that I did not want to be on my screen for that time. Since there were 3 per page, this was going to give me 6 different albums, and I am trying to decide on here what's going to be the easiest way to arrange it so it does not cut off. So I know that the square is just under 3 by 3 because I moved those arrows, and you can see the size of the images in that box as I move them around. And then I just moved up and moved down on each one of those as I created the album covers. And once I did this, I went ahead and laid it on there, and then I printed it. It is easy enough to do. There may be, just a little learning as you get in and play around with it. But all I had to do is click on the print button, and then I can go ahead and print that. Once I had these 3 printed, I went back in and did some more editing on this by dragging it back out to get the albums now. So I had the album cover, and now I'm going to just put the album. So I'm leaving them the same size, and then I can move them up. And so I go to the different album cover and slide over. You see, I'm just pulling that over, and that is the albums that will go to that particular album cover. And now I can duplicate that. And all of these were on the same sheet, so I can just drag down and then have the 3rd album right there. I'm just messing along with it here because I had the wrong album up. So there we have it. Now I've got those 2, and then the 3rd one off to the side. You can see that, I'm going to go ahead and pull in the other 3 albums, and I will add those to the bottom half here. So I will go down to my little plus button there, pick the next sheet. There we have it. And now I can slide up on my arrows and down on my arrows, and I can pull it out to the size that I need and drag those both in. And now I can just stretch that out to the size that I need as I crop those white lines away. I will now have all of my albums on there, and I'll be able to print this on my normal copy paper as I move to the next step. Once I get the albums done, I'll be able to go down and click on the print button once again. I want to make sure that there's enough room all the way around that this will print nicely. Click on my print button, and I now have all the albums on one sheet of regular copy paper. Now I'm going to come in and make sure that I have the right size of the last 3 albums for the covers, and I will get that done. So I drag up the albums, stretch over to open up where I've had cropped out, and now I have album cover number 1. And I'll grab the next set of albums. I will drag it over, pull that in, drag it up and down, and now I have album cover number 2. And then I'll go to my 3rd and final album and drag that over, pull it out, pull up and pull down, and I now have album number 3. I'll arrange on my paper here, and I will print that, and I will be ready to go.